Close all the curtains. Stay on the phone. We are the monsters holding you still. We are the galaxy.
Oh hey, it's Wes. And today we're gonna have some fun and talk about the new Meike 50mm 0.95. As always, we're gonna start with the build quality and build from there. As you can see, this is a solid metal lens and it is shockingly small. Now, unfortunately, the reason that this is very small is this is only an APS-C lens. Womp womp. Big bummer for me. But obviously, this would be much larger if it was a full frame lens. You can't really use it on a full frame body without having an image circle. But I have been using it on my A7 IV, which has enough megapixels to get the job done with like a 12 to 14 megapixel crop on that. I don't think that this is actually all metal. I think this part right here is plastic and everything else is metal. As you can see, it's externally focusing. We have a non-clicked aperture ring. Does feel good though, it's well dampened. Don't have a lot of room on this lens though because it's so compact. Our lens cap, unfortunately, is just plastic, slide on, so it's gonna fall off when you pull it out of your bag. And our back cap is very normal plastic back cap, but it is the Meike design, which I've found in the past. It doesn't snap on as easily as a Sony cap. There's only one orientation where it will go on. The Sony cap will fit on 3 different positions, whereas the Meike cap, you have to keep rotating until you find the position it locks down. That's annoying. Also, obviously, this is not a weather sealed lens. None of these lower priced Chinese lenses are. Not shocking, but we do lose some points for that. So overall, the lens feels just, I cannot express to you how nice this feels in the hand, but it's a 7.5 out of 10 for build quality. Nice and solid, but we're lacking some stuff here. Stuff we didn't expect anyway, but it is what it is. Handling and usability. Obviously, this is a very small lens. Fits great on the camera. Focus ring could be a little more dampened, but is very smooth and satisfying. We have a perfectly quiet, smooth aperture ring here. Because there is so little space on this lens, as you can see, it is very hard to not bump the aperture ring when you're focusing. The aperture ring has nice knurling all the way around, as does the focus ring. Just the perfect amount of grip. Love that. But unfortunately, because this is not clicked, it is not locked, you're gonna be bumping the aperture all day, every day. Drives me nuts. Seriously, it just drives me completely crazy. And when you are at the widest aperture, focus peaking does not work very well because it is quite soft. Kind of something that you expect with a lens like this. It's not a surprise at all. But unfortunately, it makes it very hard to manually focus at the most wide aperture. You gotta punch right in there and hope that your subject doesn't move. It's totally doable, but it is harder. Now, once you stop it down to, say, f2, 2.8, it's actually quite sharp, and we'll talk about that more later, and then focus peaking works fantastically. But overall, for handling and usability, nice and compact, kind of annoying to use at times, so I'm gonna give that a 7.5 out of 10. Image quality. Now, this is not something that we're expecting a lot from with a lower cost, not super cheap, ultra wide aperture lens. You're expecting it to be soft and creamy and dreamy, and is it? Well, yeah, it is. So wide open, very soft, tons of chromatic aberration, lots of flaring, but honestly, the softness and the flaring is kind of something that we're looking for. You stop it down though, it does get very respectably sharp. Almost surprisingly so. It's sharper than I expected it to be. Maybe I wasn't expecting a lot. Overall though, it kind of is what it is on the image quality scale. What we're looking for this lens is the next category. So for image quality, it's a 6.5 out of 10. It's not awful, but obviously it's not highly competitive, especially if we have to count the wider open apertures. If you want to see more and higher quality image samples from this lens, there is a link down in the description below to my website where there will be lots of beautiful pictures to look at. Image character. That's what we're looking for from this lens, and does it disappoint? No, it does not. This is a beautiful lens. Huge bokeh, lots of cat's eyeing going on, slightly soap bubbly, pretty swirly, but it is just lovely. The flares are beautiful and warm, have a great character to them. If you want to take some fun, vintagey, interesting, smooth photos, this is a great lens for that on APS-C. Overall, this is an easy 9 out of 10 for image character. The only flaw being that the bokeh is a little bit weird at times in the bokeh balls itself, and the cat's eyeing is it's just a bit much. Now, that's to each their own, but it's a 9 for me, which is very high. Autofocus, it has none. There are no electronic contacts. I want to see more lens manufacturers putting electronic contacts on their lenses so that we can get the automated focus assist features. That would be great for this lens, because the focus peaking, when you're punched out all the way, wide open, doesn't work fantastically well because it's all soft and dreamy like. If you had the communication contacts to automatically do the punch-in focusing, that would make this lens so much easier to use, but we don't have that. But in any case, that's a 0 out of 10 for autofocus. We have 2 rating scores though, so one where it's only compared to manual focus lenses and one against autofocus lenses in case you're cross-shopping with lenses that do have autofocus. Value. This is one where we might expect a lot from this lens, but I'm not sure if we necessarily should. So it's a third-party lens from China. Does that mean it has to be cheap? Well, it's also a ultra-wide aperture lens, which tends to be expensive. So what do we got here? It is $250, which is a little bit more expensive than I thought that it would be, because we're looking at a full-frame equivalent here of 75mm f1.5. So if you've got your 85 1.4 right here, then you're looking at a pretty similar look. But are you? No, this is a way more dreamy look to it. TT Artisan has a APS-C lens, a 50 1.2 for $100. And let me tell you, those TT Artisan APS-C lenses are phenomenal. But they're also something entirely different. They tend to have a very modern and crisp image rendition, whereas this is not at all what this lens is going for. This is going for something more vintage and dreamy. You honestly should not be cross-shopping between these two lenses because they are totally different lenses. They couldn't be less similar. I've used a bunch of those TT Artisan lenses in the past. There is also a Meike 50mm 1.7 full-frame lens for $110. They also have an APS-C version for $110. The lens that we should be most concerned about are the ultra-wide aperture ones from 7 Artisans and TT Artisan. No, they are not the same company. The TT Artisan one, 50.95, is $220. Costs less than this. The 7 Artisans 50.95 is $210. And we have a bit of a problem here. Look at that lens. Now look at this lens. Now look at that lens. Look at this lens. Now look at your boyfriend.
I'm on a horse.
They might be the same lens, but I cannot confirm this 100%. They look very similar. But in any case, at the end of the day, this is not the cheapest version of that lens. Now, do I think it's worth the price they're charging for it? Yes, I do. But do I think that that makes this an incredibly niche lens at that price? Also correct. So I have to give this a 5 out of 10 for value. Not the best value. So what does that give us at the end? That gives us a total of 35.5 out of 50, or 71% on the manual scale. Let's see how that racks up here. And a 59.2% on the absolute scale against all lenses in case you are cross-shopping. And unfortunately, that gets us pretty far down the line. And honestly, where they're really losing a lot of the points that most third-party lenses get, that's on value, just because they price this just a little bit too high compared to their competitors. So that's a shame. Most of their competitors are gonna get like a 9 or 10 out of 10 on value just for those few dollars difference, which bumps it quite a bit higher up on the scale. Absolute rating aside, I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed using this lens, but would I want to shell out 250 American dollars to have fun with this lens? Personally, I would not. But That's because most of the photography that I do is professional in nature, which I probably can't use this lens for. However, if I was just a hobbyist, this would be just a bread and butter lens for me because it takes photos that I find beautiful and compelling. Let me know what you think about this, the Meike 50.95 lens, down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you. If you want to pick one up, there'll be a link in the description to help support this channel and feed my fat cats. But until next time, let's go take some really cool photos.